Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Sky Striker deck profile. So I'm really excited to see you guys because this deck just got some amazing support out of Magnificent Mavens, giving us an amazing new spell card that helps out this deck a lot. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name, description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Sky Striker Ace Ray. This is the main deck card that we're going to want to get on the field as quickly as possible so we can start link summoning into all of our amazing link monsters. This card has an awesome effect that quick effect, you can tribute this card, then special summon out 1 Sky Striker Ace monster from your X deck to an extra monster zone. And then while this card is in your graveyard, if a face-up Sky Striker Ace link monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon this card, which is a great effect just to be able to replace one of your link monsters that basically leaves the field, which is a really great effect. We then play a single copy of Sky Striker Ace Rose. Rose is a really good one-of in the deck, but you only really need a single copy of Rose in this particular build. This card is a great card, but 1 is totally fine for this deck. We then play 3 copies of Bestial Magnemite. Bestial Magnemite is a great 3-of in this deck just to give you a 2500 attack point monster on the field while also dealing with combo pieces in your opponent's graveyard. This card has an awesome effect that you can target a light or dark monster in either player's graveyard and banish it, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. And it's a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster, which all of your Bestial monsters share that common effect, which is really awesome. But this card's unique effect is if this card is special summon, you can activate this effect that during the end phase of this turn, you can add a dragon monster from your deck or graveyard back to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is a great effect to be able to search out a really powerful dragon monster. We then play 2 copies of Bestial Druis Worm. Druis Worm is the card we're going to be searching off of our copy of Magnemite, and this card is a great 2-of in this particular deck because it has a really good effect that if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, then you can target a special summon monster that your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard, which is an awesome effect just to deal with one of your opponent's monsters. I then play 3 copies of Ghost Spell. Ghost Spell is just a fantastic hand trap to stop your opponent from touching the graveyard. This card is just really good right now, which is why I'm playing this card as a 3-of. I then play 2 copies of DD Crow. DD Crow is just really good because there's so many graveyard decks running around right now. So this card is just really good to be able to banish a card from your opponent's graveyard. So I play this card as a 2-of in this deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda's just really good in this deck to be able to search out your copies of your Sky Striker monsters because they're both warriors. So this card is basically just a 5th copy of your Sky Striker monsters. I'm then playing a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is just really good to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. I then play 2 copies of Triple Tactical Talents just in case we do get hand trapped. This card comes in extremely handy because it has 3 amazing effects if your opponent activates a monster effect during our turn. It has the ability to either let us draw 2 cards, take control of an opponent's monster until the end phase, or look at your opponent's hand and choose 1 card from it and shuffle it back into the deck, which is absolutely amazing. We then play 2 copies of Pot of Desires in this deck. I really like Pot of Desires in this build because it lets us draw 2 additional cards, which just helps out the deck a lot to be able to get to some really power plays. I then play 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Cosmic Cyclone is a really good 2-of in this deck just to be able to deal with your opponent's back row by just paying 1,000 life points. It lets you banish a spell or trap, which is really, really good. I then play a single copy of Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. This card is really insane. It's one of the best cards in the entire deck and has an awesome effect that if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can add a Sky Striker card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. Then, if you have 3 or more spell cards in your graveyard, you get to draw an additional card, which is a great effect to have on this card because basically you're just going to get a search and then a draw off this card. I then play a single copy of Hornet Drones. Hornet Drones is a really good 1-of in the deck that just gives you a token on your side of the field, which is really good to help you link summon into some really powerful monsters. But if you have 3 or more spell cards in your graveyard when this card resolves, the token comes out with 1500 attack and 1500 defense, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Sky Striker Mecha Multi-Roll. Multi-Roll is a really good one of the deck, but you can only play 1 copy of this card currently. It's absolutely insane because it has the ability that once per turn, you can target one other card that you control and send that card to the graveyard. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to your spell card's activations for the rest of the turn, even if this card leaves the field. And you can only gain the previous effect once per turn. And once per turn, during the end phase, then you can set Sky Striker spells with different names from your graveyard up to the number of Sky Striker spell cards that you activated this turn while this card was face up on the field, but banish them when they leave the field, which is absolutely insane because basically you get multiple activations out of your Sky Striker spells, getting maximum value out of them, which is really good. You can basically use each one of them twice, which is really insane. I then play a single copy of Sky Striker Airspace. Airspace is a really good one-of in the deck. It's a great field spell that just helps you dig into the deck because it lets you target one other card that you control, excavate the top 3 cards from your deck, and if you do, add 1 excavated Sky Striker card to your hand. Also, you shuffle the rest back in the deck. Then, if you excavated a Sky Striker card, send the targeted card to the graveyard, which is really good just to be able to dig into the deck with this card. It also has a really good effect that if this card in the field zone is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from your deck, which is a great effect. I then play 2 copies of Afterburner. Afterburner is a really good spot removal because if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can target a face-up monster on the field and destroy it. And if there's 3 or more spell cards in your graveyard, you can destroy a spell or trap on the field as well, which is a really awesome effect. I then play 2 copies of Shark Cannon. Shark Cannon is insane right now, so this card is a definite 2-of in the deck, that if you control no monsters in the main monster zone, you can target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard and banish that monster, or if you have 3 or more spells and traps in the graveyard, you can special summon that monster to your field instead, but it can't attack, which is a great effect. We then play 3 copies of the new Sky Striker card, 3 copies of Linkage. Linkage is absolutely insane. This card is exactly what the deck needed, and I'm so excited to play this card. It has a really good effect that if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you cannot special summon monsters for their X-Check for the rest of the turn after this card resolves except Sky Striker Ace monsters. Also, you send 1 other card you control to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon 1 Sky Striker Ace monster from your X-Deck to an extra monster zone. Then, if you have at least 1 light or dark Sky Striker Ace monster on the field or in your graveyard that was summoned to the field, the summoned monster gains 1000 attack points. That is absolutely insane, that it just basically lets you summon out any of your X-Strike monsters to your side of the field, which is really good. I absolutely love this card. We then play 3 copies of Widow Anchor. Widow Anchor is one of the best cards in the entire archetype, with the ability, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, target 1 face-up effect monster on the field and negate that face-up monster's effect until the end of the turn. Then if you have 3 or more spells in the graveyard, you can take control of that monster until the end phase, which is a crazy powerful effect. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 3 traps in this build, and that's going to be 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This card is absolutely insane right now. Just being able to negate a monster effect is really good, and if you set this card to your side of the field, you can also lock down a spell and trap column, which is really insane. So this card is a definite 3-of in this deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Kangari. Kangari is just absolutely one of the best cards in the entire deck. This card is insane. You take 1 non-fire Sky Striker Ace monster to make this card, and if this card is special summoned, you can target a Sky Striker spell in your graveyard and add that card back to your hand, and it also gains 100 attack for each spell card in the graveyard, and you can only special summon this card once per turn. We then play 3 copies of Shizuku. Shizuku is really good as a 3-of as well. Has the ability to take 1 water or 1 non-water Sky Striker Striker Ace monster to make this card, and monsters your opponent control lose 100 attack and defense for each spell card in your graveyard, and once per turn, during the end phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, you can add a Sky Striker spell from your deck to your hand with a name different from cards in your graveyard, which is a really good effect to get the exact one you need when you need it. We then play 3 copies of Hayate. Hayate is really good as a 3-of in this deck because it has a really good effect that it takes 1 non-win Sky Striker Ace monster to make this card, and you only special summon this card once per turn. This card can attack directly, and after damage calculation, if this card battled, you can send a Sky Striker card from your deck to the graveyard, which is a pretty good effect, but being able to go in for 1500 attack points is pretty good to be able to help you close out a game. We then play just a single copy of Kaina. Kaina is just a really good 1-of in the deck. You only need a single copy of Kaina in your build, but this card is a really good 1-of. We then play 2 copies of Zeke. Zeke is just insanely good in this deck. Zeke has a really good effect. It takes 2 monsters, including a Sky Striker Ace monster, which usually you're using one of your Bestial monsters, plus one of your Sky Striker monsters to make this card, but it has the ability that must be link summoned, and you can only special summon this card once per turn. And if this card is link summoned, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field and banish it until your opponent's next end phase. And once per turn, you can target one other card that you control, and this card gains 1000 attack. Then you send the targeted card to the graveyard, which is a pretty good effect just to give this card a little bit of a boost. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is just fantastic in the deck because we have so many different attributes in this deck. Just with the Sky Striker Ace monsters, we have every attribute besides Light currently, which is absolutely insane to be able to use with your Access Code Talker to get 5 pops in this deck. And it's really easy to get multiple of them in the graveyard, which is really nice. So this card is a definite 1-of in this deck. We then play a single copy of our World Chalice Warrior. This card is a really good 1-of the deck just to get you a pop, because if this card is link summoned, you can draw cards equal to the number of World Chalice monsters this card points to, and you only affect this card once per turn. That once per turn, you can send 1 card from each player's field to the graveyard, which is a great effect to be able to use on this card. And it also has the ability that if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, then you can special summon a World Chalice monster from your hand, which you're never really using that effect, but being able to get rid of a card on both players' field is just really good. We then finally play a single copy of the Dark Charmer. The Dark Charmer is just really good in this deck, so we're playing so many darks in this deck, so this card is a definite 1-of, especially with all the Bestial monsters running around right now. This card is just fantastic. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Sky Striker before, now is the perfect time to pick up the deck, especially with the new spell card that we just got for this particular deck. I absolutely love playing this deck because there's all sorts of different spell cards that you can tech into this build, and I really love this build. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of our notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.